Hi everyone, this is Max and this video is about a Crowdestor Investors Guide. So this video is on the one hand for people already investing with Crowdestor, but it's also for people who are investors and think about investing in Crowdestor but want to learn more about the platform first. So in this video I give an explanation of the platform and I also do my personal analysis of the chances and the risks. I'm a high stake investor with more than 110,000 euros invested, and in my P2P and crowd investing portfolio, Crowdestor is the strongest asset. So first I want to introduce myself, then I will explain what is crowd investing or crowd lending in general, then also cover why it is so popular in the Baltics. Then I will give some facts about Crowdestor and important managers working there. Then I talk about projects and loans issued by Crowdestor, and after I will give information about the securities that Crowdestor gives the investors to cover their money. And I will also talk about the risks that come with investing in Crowdestor, and after I will explain the future direction, the vision that Crowdestor is looking at. And in the end, I'll do a conclusion and give some outlook, some further steps where you can gather more information and involve yourself with Crowdestor. So first I need to give a little disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor and this video is no financial advice. I'm simply elaborating my personal experiences and assessments on this video. So I'm Max, I'm a German guy, I'm part-time employee and investor, and I'm investing in real estate, in stocks and ETFs since many years, and have a goal to build up a passive constant income. So 2018 I decided to try new assets, and I've been testing different P2P and crowd investing platforms, and 2019 I also started with Crowdestor, and my goal was to spread my risk across new and different asset classes. So I dealt very intensively with this industry and these assets and the platforms in particular. I did a lot of research, I reached for personal contact with the platforms, and with the time I reduced my investments in other P2P and crowd investment platforms and increased it a lot in Crowdestor. And I want to explain you now in this video about my findings of Crowdestor and my personal reasons for this. For me, Crowdestor really gives the best risk and return ratio among all the platforms that there are.
In July, I also visited Crowdestor personally with a group of high-stake investors, and we did our own due diligence on Crowdestor and on lots of the projects. And yes, so we got a lot of insights there and learned about the business a lot.
So how does crowd investing or crowd lending in general work, and what is the role of the platforms? So the platforms like Crowdestor is like the place where borrowers can apply for loans to get funded by private or institutional investors or lenders. So the platform is doing the checks of the borrowers, is setting the parameters, is developing the loan agreements, and is collecting the money of the investors who are willing to invest in this loan. And once the money is collected, if it's collected, it will be issued to the borrower, and the borrower has to repay the loan, the principal and the interest, through the platform back to the investors until the project is finished and everything is paid back. So you might wonder, why is it so popular in the Baltics to do P2P and crowd lending? Why are most platforms located there? So in the Baltics, it is really different than, for instance, in Germany, where you have a very strong banking system. But in the Baltics, it's not like that. It's very hard for companies to get a loan if they need one, also for private persons to get a loan. It's very bureaucratic and it takes a lot of time. But most companies or people need money really quick and also accept higher interest rates for that. This is a very common alternative, P2P or crowd lending, compared to banks. Also for the platforms, the tax system is very attractive. They pay very low company taxes, and so they have very good margins. So the founding story of Crowdestor was more or less that Janis Timmer, the CEO of Crowdestor, he has an own privately held heat production plant, and he issued a loan at Crowdestate, which is another crowdfunding platform, and he saw very huge market potential for crowdfunding. And yeah, he learned about it, and he's a guy, a very entrepreneurial spirit, and he really wanted to take a piece of this cake. And so he got together with his old school friend Gunnars, and they founded Crowdestor together in 2017. So right now there are around 18,000 registered investors already, with around 250 projects so far. Until now, keep your fingers crossed, there is no project failure. Some are delayed, but I will talk about that later. And the invested amount is around 20 million. So when I give my money to a platform, I really look at the managers working there, if they are competent and know what they are doing. So I also looked at Janis very closely, and I can tell you, he studied law, worked as an attorney. He built his own heat energy plant, and yeah, he's the CEO of the Heat and Power Plant Association of Latvia. He's head of energy sector Latvia. So yeah, he's very competent in the energy sector and also with legal stuff. And he's a very good businessman with a good track record. On the other hand, there is the COO and co-founder Gunnars Udris. As I said, he's a very old friend of Janis, and he's coming out of the real estate area. So he's been working with a real estate agency, and yeah, he's adding this competency to Crowdestor. And last but not least, there is Artur Gaisari. He joined Crowdestor like beginning of this year, 2020, and he was the CEO of Monify. And he is known to be an expert for automated scoring of companies, and especially for small and medium enterprises. Crowdestor wants to focus on the future. So with Crowdestor, you can diversify in all kinds of businesses, like real estate, energy, movies, mobile game, forestry, medical supply, and much, much more. And you will find very detailed information on all your projects in the project description. So the project description is open once the project is ready for being invested in. And one interesting thing is that Crowdestor participates directly or indirectly in many of its projects. So they can keep influence in some of the projects, and some projects are even issued by Crowdestor itself. Many projects have also emerged from Yannis Timmer's network. He's very well known in Riga, and he has a very big network inside of Riga, and so he knows a lot of the borrowers personally, and this gives a very high reliability in my eyes for the projects, and he knows his business partners for years. It's also interesting to know that Crowdestor is putting a lot of effort in evaluating the projects that they offer, and so they only have the best of the best, and they say themselves they reject around 95% of the projects. And with the SME, the small medium enterprises automatization approach that they are implementing right now, this will be facilitated because they don't have to evaluate the projects manually as before. So at Crowdestor you have different types of loans, like there are bullet loans, which are more risky ones. This means you pay all the interest compound in the end. When the loan term ends, you get the full principal and the compound interest rates back. These loans have normally higher return rates and higher interest rates. You also have loans where you have a regular interest payment, like on a monthly base, but the principal is paid in the end. These are like medium risk loans because you can already see, okay, there's a track record for the borrower, he's paying, and so it is less risky. But the lowest risk are some small medium enterprises loans, like many of them are paid with monthly principal repayments and interest payments on a monthly rate, and this lowers the risk a lot because you already get your principal back at a very early stage. It is also interesting to know for the investors that there are no additional costs for the investors. All the fees are paid by the borrowers, and they pay around 3 to 5% of the loan amount. And also interesting to know is that there is a minimum investment of 50 euro in loans. This might change in the future. There might be like only 25 euro minimum investment for projects in the future. And also it's interesting to know that you get interest from the day of your investment. So even if the project doesn't get fully funded, you still get the interest for the days your money is stuck in the project. So first there is a new project announcement by Crowdestor, so people can already have an overview and prepare for the project. Then there's the funding phase starting at a specific day, at a specific time, and it usually runs around 3 weeks, and you will have a minimum goal that needs to be reached for the project to be funded, but there's also a maximum goal which is set much higher for the maximum investment. So if it succeeds to reach the minimum goal, it will be paid out to the borrowers, and afterwards the repayment phase is starting already, and it's repaid according to the repayment plan. So here I want to show you some of the most popular and largest projects that Crowdestor had. Many of the projects are in different tiers. So you have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and money is collected in each tier. So, for instance, here's Dystopia Rebel Empires. Which is a mobile game. They're collecting the money for a global launch, which will be in October, and yeah, you get around 28% of interest rate, which is very good interest rate. Then one project by Yanis himself. He's planning to build his second power plant, and he is funding it with money from Crowdestor. He's offering 32%, and I think this is a very impressive project. Then there's the Crowdestor Equity campaign, which started in February, and they're collecting around 1.3 million euros in total. They offer 26%, and in the end, you can convert all your interest and your principal into shares, so you can be part owner of Crowdestor in the end, which is also very attractive. The last round was like funded in like 5 seconds or something like that. And you can also see an example of a small medium enterprise project, and many of them come from Monify, and they're kind of refinancing the Monify loans, but only the best loans are issued on Crowdestor. Then there's a very short loan with only 2 months, but 36%, and it's a loan in Germany for government medical supply. Then there's a loan for a meat processing factory, which is also small medium enterprise, and a very interesting loan that I personally like a lot is the War Hunt movie with Mickey Rourke, and the movie will be sold to a streaming platform in November, and I'm really looking forward to watch this movie, and I hope it will be sold to Netflix or Amazon so I can watch it. So of course COVID also influenced some of Crowdestor's projects. Crowdestor decided to give all projects a 3-month grace period, and depending on how the project was affected, the interest was either suspended or deferred, or partially or fully paid. About half of the projects have agreed that they will pay the interest in full during the 3-month grace period, and 2 of the projects, which is the mobile game and the movie, will probably benefit a lot. And these 2 projects offered a success bonus in their first financing rounds, and so investors will benefit more than expected with these 2 projects. On the other hand, of course, projects like a Limp Bizkit concert or a holiday resort in Cambodia will certainly have some problems. Crowdestor itself as a company showed a lot of confidence. They hired lots of new staff from competitors who were reducing staff, and Crowdestor launched its equity campaign. So it's a very offensive approach of Crowdestor in the crisis. And they also introduced the small medium enterprises expansion, hiring Arthur Gaisari for that, and they increased the interest rates a lot during COVID time. One can say that the quality of the securities determines the amount of the interest rate. So most real estate projects, for instance, offer a collateral on the assets, or some businesses offer a collateral on the business assets. But sometimes Crowdestor also has some special rights, like a space in the board of the company for a temporary time. And in the small medium enterprises, there's mostly a personal guarantee attached from the CEO. But this is just an addition, The small medium enterprises are selected by their balance sheets, and so this is just an addition, this personal guarantee. And last but not least, there's a provision fund, and a small percentage of each loan is dedicated to the provision fund, and this fund is right now around 361,000 euros strong, and in case of a project failure, investors will be compensated from this fund on a specific formula that is described on the homepage of Crowdestor. So of course there are different types of risks attached to investments in Crowdestor. So the main risk is the loan risk. So the risk that the loan will be repaid. But right now, as I said already, there are no defaults at this moment, and we will see what the future brings. But it's likely that some of the projects who are very affected by the COVID crisis might become default. And then there's a platform risk. So, and for this risk can be said that Crowdestor issued with his equity campaign lots of insights, financial insights about the company, and the balance sheets of the last years, and Crowdestor is working profitable since the beginning. So in the end, there's also some industry risk. In the Baltics, there are some regulations for crowdfunding about to come, but Crowdestor is already preparing for it and wants to be the first crowdfunding platform being licensed by the authorities. It is also important to see that the payments before the corona crisis were all on time, and now after the crisis, of course, some are a little bit delayed, and for those stronger delayed, they are collected by the community in a table, and I will put the link to this table in the description of the video. So Yannis is a very visionary CEO, and his vision for Crowdestor is to create a place where borrowers and investors can meet and do business together. So he really wants to build connections between investors and companies. And he has set his goal to focus with Crowdestor on the European small medium enterprises market with 24 million enterprises, and his goal is to reach a 16 billion loan book financed all through Crowdestor. And this means he would be top 3 crowdfunding platform in European Union. So what is short term on the list is that Crowdestor wants to do an external auditing, probably by Deloitte, and they are preparing for it already. Furthermore, they want to introduce a project cabinet with permanent updates of all projects. Additionally, they are about to introduce the automatized lending and investing, which means that there's an automated scoring of the borrowers applying, and investors can invest through an auto invest in the future. They don't need to invest manually. Besides that, Crowdestor wants to use Lemonway as an external payment service for incoming and outgoing payments. They also want to buy a licensed payment solution themselves, so that all investors can have their own IBAN numbers, and even payment cards are planned for the users. So this is really innovative, that users can make payments with Crowdestor cards in real life. There's also a real estate department planned besides the SME area and the Crowdestor specific projects. Artur Gaisari also plans to do an investor education channel on YouTube to help the Crowdestor investors become more sophisticated investors. So all this shows to me a very interesting future for Crowdestor and also high ethical standards of the managers. In August 11, so in just a few days, there will be a huge update of the platform where some of these points will be implemented, so you can look forward to that. I probably will make a video of the updates afterwards. So as a conclusion, I see that Crowdestor is following a very aggressive and also innovative development, and it feels like they really want to disrupt the market of crowdfunding and crowdlending. I also can see the very self-confident vision to become one of the top crowd investing platforms. I also find it very positive that there is no external influence through equity investors, since Yanis has been funding Crowdestor through his own money to keep them independent. I also see the visionary CEO Yanis Timmer with a very successful business track record, also for him personally, and with a huge talent in finding opportunities to create value and make strong deals. And many of these deals are having Crowdestor directly involved. If you found this video helpful, I will be happy if you give me a like on it and follow me for more videos and updates. If you have questions, don't hesitate to write a comment or send me an email. If you're not a Crowdestor investor yet, but want to try it out for yourself, I will also be very grateful if you use my bonus link, which gives you 1% cashback for your first 90 days of investment, and you can find it in the video description. I will also add a link to the official Crowdestor hosted Facebook group where you can discuss with other investors and Crowdestor staff, and also a link to the Telegram group with more than 1,300 investors discussing and exchanging infos. So thank you for watching this video, and I wish you all the best with your investments at Crowdestor.